Hello, guys. This is Three Faces in the Dark. I'm your host for today because I'm the last one who hasn't hosted yet. So I'm Bice Opinions, and here are my co-hosts, Big L and Joseph. So it's been only 10 days since the league started. So it's how's everybody's league going?
League is great. I've just been playing the league mechanic, and the drops are pretty good. My current ranking is about 900 something. Yep.
Sounds good. Sounds good. What about L?
Yeah, so my league has been quite normal, I guess. From last week, I think I've transitioned more towards completing challenges. I've started to do the league mechanic. It's quite fun, but I haven't seen the big rewards yet. So I'm still looking at the possible new builds that are enabled by tattoos. So still looking at that. Then yeah, so I think my league is going fine. Nothing much really happened except I did manage to snipe Nimis for 5.7 divine, just because recently there was a streamer that mentioned about the ring, and then the prices went up like 3 times. So I was lucky for that lah. But if not, I think my league is fine.
To be fair, the streamer that mentioned it actually won the race to create the ring, so he gets to manipulate the prices of the ring however he wants. For me, my league, I got a bit distracted by a Pathfinder. Then I have no idea how to get it to work. So I'm going to shelve it for now until I have enough like divines for a bunch of the projectile tattoos, and so I can test out how to scale Toxic Rain or any other projectile skill. Then what I'm doing, so I went back to my I went back to my Hierophant, switched him over to Shockwave Totems. Shockwave Totems is actually, Astral Projector is actually quite cheap right now, 1.9 divines around there. And used him to clear maps, clear out Blight. Haven't actually been touching the league mechanic that much, but I guess we'll definitely be going back to that later on. Yeah. And I'm now currently trying to make a switch over to a Chieftain. Hopefully this Chieftain will have cheap immortality and 0 damage, so that I can play a little bit with the Tota league mechanics. So any of you guys eyeing future builds? Cause like I know you guys have been playing the same build. Like I'm the only one with 3 builds inside here, I think.
Okay, so currently I am doing these 3 days has been quite a good lab day. So I've been trying to enchant some helmets to see if I can play some builds that I have in mind. Currently I have Hex Blast Miner, which is a very meta build this league, but I'm building it as a Pathfinder. So that's my own take on Hex Blast Miner. I'll be starting it as a poison Hex Blast Miner, and we'll see how it goes. But once I feel like I have enough gear, I will transition the poison miner into a hit base hex blast miner using Pathfinder so that I can sustain flask forever. That is one plan. Um, from the week ago, I'm still playing my Icicle Mine Inquisitor. So I am thinking to change that into a Ethereal Knife self-cast Inquisitor just to make sure I can get to level 100 with this build. So that's the current tool that I'm working on. But I definitely have a few builds that I may share maybe in the next episode where currently I'm still looking at the items that is available on trade to buy them. Like you guys know, the thing that I like to do in game is actually to snipe cheap items to make powerful builds. So that's how I roll.
As I'm enjoying the league mechanic, so I'm thinking of creating a new build just for Dota. So just now I saw the Void Sphere Elementalist on Reddit, which looks quite good. So try to snipe the items and then I think we're good to go.
I'm pretty sure Void Sphere will be enough before we release this episode, sadly. I mean, I remember we were talking about taunts and like a little bit of knockback before the nerfs went live. Void Sphere should be reverse knockback. I have no idea how they coded it so that it isn't reverse knockback, but this is probably going to be enough either tomorrow or the day after.
I mean, to me, I just see Void Sphere as a clever use of mechanic because it doesn't touch knockback. It doesn't have taunt. I don't think it will get nerfed, so I think it's safe to build that character. I do read somewhere that still says that the champion ascendancy, the taunt still works. So if you guys are still wanting to look at the Trial of the Ancestors builds, you can look at champion as well. I think champion with the totem playstyle can also abuse a bit of taunt. So yeah, that one should be viable as well. But definitely, I think the Void Sphere build that we saw on Reddit is much better because the build is entirely made just for the link mechanic. Yep.
And this is the only time where you don't have to map to actually play the league mechanic. Unlike Delve, you still have to collect sulfite. Where this, you can just buy silver coins off people and just run the league mechanic the whole day.
Yeah, I think this is the first time we had such a skippable league mechanic. The one before that was very close was Sanctum, but even in Sanctum, you actually had to go inside the league mechanic, which you find in maps, in order for you to tall up. And I think almost every other mechanic before this has not been tradable. Yeah.
Yeah, I would actually like to add on. I think the first iteration of such league mechanics is actually heist. But heist still requires you to have a contract. So that's the only limiting factor because once you run enough heist, you'll know that the coin markers, they are not really the limiting factor for your heist, but whereas the contracts, they are. So yes, this league mechanic seems to be a more self-contained one than heist, which I think that is already very self-contained because you can actually just buy a whole tab of contracts, you run them, and you can basically just live in the rogue harbor. So Dota seems to be a improvement from what they did with heist. And if you realize, most of the dialogue boxes and all the voice actor voice lines for Dota is actually just a better version of what heist is.
That's actually quite interesting. So, you guys talk about buying silver coins and stuff. What have you guys been doing in order to fund your silver coin addiction or whatever you guys are buying right now?
The league mechanic sustain itself. So I've been the rewards are quite good for my end. Like in total I have gotten 3 of the +1 proc. Aurora Aegis. I got 4 divine ones, and the 1 divine probably 7 or 8 times. And then sometimes the rewards are like 21-20 skill gems. Then those can go for like, meta skill gems can go for like at least like 20 CE and above. And then yeah. So like basically the league mechanic sustain itself.
I mean, like I said, the past few days has been lab days, so I've just been buying decent helmets. I can share a few. When you want to run lab, you actually just need one Sandstorm Visage, one Heat Shiver, Fractured Life, armor evasion base. Normally you will go for a pig face, bassinet, and item level 86 full breeze circlet should be enough. So you bring all these helmets, you go to the lab and you hope for a good enchant. I got a Spark plus 3 helmet. And just nice the other day when I was farming maps, I had a Legion drop me a synthesized helmet with 15% increased non-aura effect, and I put the spark enchant on it, and apparently I saw one on trade that has a similar stat as mine. It was going for 40 divine. I don't know if people are actually buying that helm for 40 div, but I just place it with the same price tag and see if people are biting for it. Then yep, so currently I'm just spending the days either in the league mechanic or in labs. Because I've been mapping a lot previously, so I have a surplus of like 700 coins, and I haven't even spent finish. So I'll just be slowly enjoying my game for the next few days to come.
Both of you are unethical and disgusting. All I got are a bunch of raw divine drops from Blight. I mean, to be fair, I'm like watching YouTube while doing it. But still, your drops are like unethical and disgusting. And you guys should give me a mage blood soon. I'm waiting for the mage blood handout. So do you guys think the total loot rebalance was too strong or too weak?
I don't think it's too strong. At least it makes the whole league quite fun. And then I mean, I don't know, is it just me or it feels like this league there are quite a lot of people getting mirror as well. It seems mirror has been quite common this league. Yeah.
Okay, so I think that the loot rebalance is actually something that has to be done, because if the league mechanic is not good, basically we'll just be playing standard back again, which is what I was doing, and it can only remain fun for a while because we can enjoy the Atlas. The Atlas haven't changed for maybe 3 or 4 leagues now. So if you are really just a casual gamer, you will just play what is being given by GG, right? But the problem now is that people want to play new stuff, and the loot rebalance is a very good way lah, very good pathway for people to try out alternative gameplay. And just now, Joseph was talking about mirrors drop. Actually, the highest source of mirrors currently in game is given either through Sanctum or maybe 1 or 2 weeks time, people will be gambling the cards for true harvest. So currently, if you see a lot of mirrors price drop, that is because people are farming too much Sanctum.
Well, but they are keystones, a few of which we have actually talked about quite a bit in the previous podcasts. But one thing that seems to be really popular in the meta, or at least the YouTube meta nowadays, is Tormented Spirits. People are talking about how you can use the Tormented Spirits to touch all the mobs appropriately, and using the Fairgrave's Tricone helmet or something like that in order to double the effects of the touch.
I think we've talked about this for a few group plays. They basically get one guy to be ghosted, run around the maps, and then they'll get their carry to kill every monster, to bring them to call range, and then they have their magifying color to call everything, which I think is not really feasible for solo gameplay. But yeah, it is definitely one of the new ways to farm, right? Oh yeah, I like to add that because I've tested the ritual keystone, it sucks actually. It's very good if you are just playing ritual casually, but I've spec it for I think 2 or 3 days just to finish my ritual challenges, and I haven't get better loot apart from when I was doing ritual without the keystone. So I think rerolling in ritual is still actually one of the better ways to play it. The keystone is maybe just there for you to use it while you do not have enough points to get all the other notables.
That's actually very interesting. Another thing that was gaining popularity since the last podcast are sanctums. I think they are really expensive right now. Not sure how you guys feel about it, because since the sanctum logs are so expensive right now, it might be a buff to mapping. Right, it might be an indirect buff to mapping, since the more you kill, the higher chance you have to get sanctum logs. So there might be some things about mob density, or like has anybody actually done any strats on like farming center logs on the mapping yet?
Yeah, so I think when I mapped all the way to 97, I actually got like 8 or 9 tomes just from mapping. So it's not too rare, but at the same time it's not too common. You average about 1 tome, about 30 to 50 maps you should be able to find one. So maybe it was balanced around that drop rate, but you know the sanctum farmers, they are degen, so they get their divine, they will just go and buy a stash full of the tomes, and then they'll just keep running for that. But I can see that just by looking at the prices of some of the sanctum exclusive uniques, like the Sandstorm Visage, it has dropped all the way from, it was hovering around 6 divine for the first week, 6, then it slowly dropped to 5, 4, and eventually I think now it's at about 1.5 to 2 divine. So yeah, I think the margin for sanctum farming has come down because of all these unique price drops, but I think sanctum still remains as one of the most lucrative way to play PoE right now.
And I just gave up my totem build in order to try to make a total farming. Speaking of the league mechanic, right? Lucky we are recording on just a few hours, or like less than 24 hours after the new tattoo
Yeah, so from the new post, it seems like it's a totally new kind of tattoo. It's the journey tattoo, right? So it takes into account. So if you have been playing PoE, you would know that there's something similar to this. It's called split personality, right? So it takes from the starting of your skill tree, and towards the end, they'll give you, for the number of nodes that is not connected, they'll take the longest route, and they'll give you the stats based on what you have on your split personality. But for this one, it requires the amount of tattoo that is on the main path. So I haven't seen, we haven't really thought of how to use it, but I think the one that gives you energy shield, mana, and life seems to be interesting for some of the stacking builds, like we talk about the Hex Plus Miner, right? There is one specifically that plays with the dissolution of the flesh and the Rev Piff. So for that, maybe the HP stacking mod is actually not bad. Okay. There is also a new honored tattoo of the Makanga. That one is a 2 max stress. So I think this one is a bit hard because it requires 8 adjacent passive skills, and there might not be a lot of place where you can actually use this. So we still really have to look at where it works. As for the other one, it's an entirely new one because it's the ancestral tattoo of bloodlines. Right. It increases the recovery rate of life, mana, and ES per tribe for which you have an allocated tattoo. So now you also have to take into account what kind of tribe tattoo do you use in your build. So I think this tattoo opens up more build diversity than what I think it would have made.
Isn't the journey tattoo the life ES and mana? No, isn't it more like grand spectrum where you because it replaces the 30 strength intel dex node, and then per allocated it will give you like 25 life. So if you have 330 strength notable and then you tattoo all of them, so it's like 70 life, 75 life times 3, right?
Oh, I think I saw it the other way, but yeah, if you are rereading it, I think you are right. But now it's really weird because I wouldn't take 30 strength away for 25 life. It seems a bit, the value don't make sense to me right now.
If you have 3 allocated, it will be 75 life each, like 225 for 90 strength.
You must really see how your tree pass through 330 strength notable. So the whole setup might be a bit scuffed, to be honest.
But we can use the anointment. The anointment, because you can actually anoint and still get the tattoo.
So we don't want to add in like any other ways to get the notes, but yeah, like I mean, if you're talking about it, then we can talk about how we can use UI, we can use anoint. Maybe the meta is also to just go blood uniques, because every blood unique can have additional anointment, right?
Actually, I think that's pretty spicy. I actually don't know how many 30 strength notables we can have. We'll probably have to check that out after the podcast.
I think so. The strength notables only comes out on the tree where there is no strength. So apart from Marauder and Templar, every other corner should have 1 or 2. So if you take into account, you have Witch, Shadow, Ranger, and I think Duelist might not have. So at least about 4 to 5 on the tree. Yeah.
Also, right, the journey tattoo for Makanui, I think it's quite nice because I actually path through, a lot of us I think path through keystones that we don't actually want to use. For example, the one that's very close to the war cry duration one. Or if you're a spellcaster, you might actually path through ancestral bond or something like that. If you could use the tattoos to swap any of them to anything useful, such as maybe pain attunement or even acrobatics, that would be hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, like I say, I think that this keystone is actually just a very big gambling currency for us, because having a correct keystone for any build actually makes it very strong. So one thing that I can think of is like, okay, let's say you have a very good Legion keystone that overrides, say you put it near Mind over Matter, but your build also wants to have Mind over Matter with Eldritch Battery as a combination for defense. You can actually get all 3 keystones, and 1 keystone can be from the tattoo, which I think is very strong.
About tattoos, right? You have to allocate the node first before you can tattoo the node. So, if you want, let's say we are talking about the strength nodes just now, that means you have to path all the way there to tattoo it, and then respec again, then you anoint it on your amulet, which is quite troublesome.
Can't you just tattoo it once you use the anointment? Does it work that way? Pretty sure it does.
I was talking about this because of using unnatural instinct, because those are not allocated, and then you cannot tattoo them. So I have to tattoo first, and then I have to allocate and then tattoo, then unallocate them.
I'm too poor to have unnatural instinct. Never used it before. Poor man here.
I think currently this league, Unnatural Instinct, usually the price will spike at around day 4, day 5, which it already did. But surprisingly, UI has been on a steady decrease from 7 div to about 6 div nowadays. So I don't think it is a strong jewel by all means, but currently I think people are just using UI for the sake of it being strong, but people are not abusing it with tattoos actually.
Yeah, actually, from the build guides I've seen and the build testing, not many streamers have been abusing the tattoo tag yet. But I think there's a lot of well, a lot of potential in the new tattoos as well as some of the uniques that interact with it. I guess which will allow us to segue into talking about the new uniques. Any of the new uniques?
Yeah, I exactly like 2 of all the uniques that were dropped this league. Let me talk about my favorite one. It's the Warrior's Tail Crimson Jewel. So this jewel is actually one that increases the effect of tattoos in a medium radius. So what this means is if you manage to find a few locations where you can get all the stats to convert into tattoos, you can actually make very interesting builds. So currently I have the builds that I've thought about is near the Templar. So if you pop out from the strength path of the Templar, you can actually get, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 6 strength nodes, 6 strength nodes and 1 dex nodes there. So for example, if you are using the Fire Max Rest one, actually out of the 6 strength, because it requires 1 adjacent node to be allocated, you cannot convert all strengths there to be Fire Rest. You can only convert about 4 of them to Fire Rest. And just with that alone, if you put a Warrior's Tail below the Templar starting tree, this combination becomes a 8 max Fire Rest build for any build that is starting from Templar. So you combo that with a Purity of Fire, and you just get a few max rest here and there, you can actually sustain Melody of the Flesh, which is a very strong defensive mechanic, right? So I think Warrior's Tail actually changes how people plan builds nowadays. You don't actually go full damage. You can actually just go for the small attribute nodes, change it into something that you want. Then use this Crimson Jewel to ×2 the effectiveness of all the tattoo in its radius. Another use that I saw in the same exact socket is to change all the strength and dex nodes there to become +4 to all attributes, and then you can play attribute stacking Inquisitor, which is a build that I will eventually venture into. I'm still slowly sniping the items, but this is very similar to what people play in the last league, where people were playing Mana Forge Inquisitor. They use Widow Hill and the Poise Prism, right? Yeah. So this is just one of the unique that I like. Of course, this league has another unique that made me very excited to play spell builds. Is the Replica Dragon Fang Onyx Amulet. That one, the amulet actually gives you +3 level to any skill gem in the game, right? So currently the meta skills gems like Hex Blast, Shockwave Totem, they will cost about, I think, anywhere from 7 divine to 10 div, depending on the meta. So it will be very exciting for people who want to play off meta builds to get a replica Dragon Fang to use it before you get something like the Ashes or any other endgame amulets. And to be honest, I think replica Dragon Fang can be your new endgame amulet. Yeah.
To piggyback off that, right? I actually sniped ever since Sir got showed his video on the replica Dragon's Fang, I sniped Arctic Breath one for like around 40C back when nobody knew to buy the amulet, so it actually increased my damage by a bit. But I swapped over to Shockwave, so one, I'm going to introduce to you guys my favorite unique of the league. It's called Defiance of Destiny. So when I was investigating this amulet, this beautiful amulet, it was only like less than a divine or for low roll, and now it's around 6 divines even for the cheapest one. I think I'm 100% sure. That's what PoE Ninja did. This beautiful amulet helps you gain around 25 to 35% of missing unreserved life before being hit by an enemy. This modifier can be modified by life catalysts, bringing the maximum up to 42% on a max roll version of this amulet. So this amulet is seriously broken with Petrified Blood. Using this, I actually haven't seen anybody use the full combo yet, but I use this in conjunction with Blood Notch and Immutable Force. And with all this stacked up together, you literally gain more health than you lose when you get hit by an enemy. This might not be too big of a deal because you'll still be killed by one shots. But with this full combination, you are literally immortal. Not like what those people tell you when they say, "Oh, I'm immortal for like one div." No, now they're bullshit.
I think it's a very good idea, but to me it seems like just Immutable Force and Blood Notch is a very popular combo ran last league, and this Defiant of Destiny is you using another mechanic where you actually don't reserve, you don't make use of all your life. You still need a good amount to be unreserved so that you can abuse this amulet. So to me, it seems like an entirely different mechanic from Blood Notch plus Immutable Force. But I do see your point. I think it's a strong amulet, but like I say, softcore amulet is a very offensive slot, and simply putting a defensive amulet is to me one of a big opportunity cost unless you are talking about Law Weave and Eternal Damnation.
No, you are right. But now in Path of Exile, there is a game mode where you don't actually have to deal damage in order to farm currency, called the Trial of the Ancestors. The very thing that Joseph, our beloved Joseph, has been abusing to like give us those like juicy Aegis Aurora snapshots and stuff. I hate Joseph so much. But yeah, I'll be using it with my chieftain. Hopefully I'll use him I'll stick a lightning coil on him, try to convert physical damage away so that the Trials of the Ancestor mob won't kill me, and hopefully he'll be effectively immortal. But if he isn't, at least it'll be very fun. Defiance of Destiny also actually is a very interesting math problem, which I won't bore you guys.
But roughly, if you have 42%, the max roll for Defiance of Destiny Power Amulet, if you have 13% max HP, you'll recover enough max HP to hit 50% max HP with Petrified Blood, which means that you will no longer have this awkward situation where you would have survived if you were at max HP, but you actually were not at max HP, so you die or something. You would immediately be brought to the maximum of 50% HP, and then the game will check if you survived or not, which I think is a really powerful mechanic and quite underrated.
Okay, so I did some Trial of the Ancestors yesterday, and I managed to get like 2 uniques. One of them was the Anuaha Bite Sharktooth Arrow Quiver. I think just looking at this, it seems like a very generic cold damage kind of quiver. I think it's a very good stopgap before people craft their own quivers with like additional arrow equip multi and damage. But the fact that this amulet, this quiver has the enemies chilled by your hits have damage taken increased by chill effect, and chill enemies as though dealing 60 to 100% more damage. This is actually just enabling things like hit shiver, which is very strong. And also it means that this amulet technically can give you something like what Bone Chill can give you without you using Bone Chill. So I think this is a very strong one. Um, there's also a there is also one amulet that I found from the trial. It's the Ikiaho's Promise Core amulet. I think people haven't come to realize how strong this is because the values on the life recovery from flask and mana recovery from flask can actually be catalyzed by the fertile catalyst. And if you are using this with in conjunction with some of the Legion jewels, I remember one of the Legion jewel actually recovers your life to your ES at a lower rate. Was it Supreme Decadence? You can actually just abuse this along with your Pantheon. So the Pantheon also has one node that recovers more life recovery from flask. So all these three, technically, if you can keep spamming your flask, you can basically be immortal as well.
Bro, I hyped up DOD for so long and you told me it took up an amulet slot. And now you're telling me another amulet is strong?
So the only reason why I want to bring up this amulet is because I found it. I haven't found DOD yet. Okay, so why I say this is interesting is because nowadays getting a build to have permanent flask is not hard. So if you take a look at what this unit has, if you can sustain life and mana flask, which is very easy, this build can means that you don't have any problem with resource management, which I think might be fun if you are playing a live MOM build, which is unheard of these days. But yeah, sure, I think this is an amulet that you can take a look at. Yeah, but like I say, I'm softcore, so this is something that I wouldn't build around, but it's cool to have that idea to play around with this amulet. And I like the unique that GG released this league because it is very special as compared to the past few leagues. Some of the uniques are just vendors. Yeah.
Oh, I haven't gotten this Akoya's Gaze Regicide mask yet, but it makes your life leech from exerted attacks instant. So I might explore this with the Eternal Apple so that you every time you gain the endurance charge to full, you will Warcry for free, right? So maybe you will pair it up with yes, you can use Juggernaut for the endurance charge. So you get like if your max endurance charge is 3, then you make your minimum 2. And then every time you get hit or something, you'll keep gaining the endurance charge to keep proccing your Warcries. And Warcries are instant if I'm not wrong. Or is there is it a keystone that make your Warcry instant or something like that? Yep.
There's a keystone that makes all your Warcries instant and makes all your Warcries share the same cooldown. I only know because I'm going to try Corrupting Cry.
Yeah, the keystone is called Call to Arms, but the problem with Call to Arms is that it makes all your Warcry cooldown the same. So if you are that, how are you going to loop with how you're going to loop the Eternal Apple?
I have a solution for that. The new 10% Warcry reduction speed. The 10% cooldown recovery rate. Yeah. So with the Warrior's Tail we have been talking about, and with the Jewel Socket on the left side of the Marauder tree, you can get quite a bit of War Cry cooldown recovery rate.
I'm not sure on this, but I think the trigger from the Eternal Apple, right, is bypassed. I think so.
But that can't be, right? Right. Because if it bypasses, what happens if you use Enduring Cry?
I think for the loop, you generally don't do you don't even walk right. You actually just want to hit yourself for the first hit to start the loop. But I mean, life leech from exerted attacks. How are you going to abuse that? Like, to me, it seems also like just like, I mean, if you have the Warcry loop going, it should mean that your next 6 to 7 attacks are all going to be exerted, right? So which skills are you going to go with that? Because exerted attack is a very strong thing, but you have to make use of the correct slam skills, right?
I haven't considered which slam skill to use yet. Maybe Cons Path, I guess. Maybe you want to do some strength stack Cons Path. I'm not sure. I haven't really thought about it yet.
I think I would go for Volcanic Fissure, right? Volcanic Fissure, you can still abuse Nimis, but yeah, I think other than that, I'm not sure which slam skill currently can actually abuse this, because you must know that this helmet gives you instant leech, but at the same time, if there's something wrong with your loop, you deal no damage at all, which I think is very big opportunity cost. And I wouldn't want to go crazy over how to maintain my stacks when I build a attack build. To me, attack build is simple. I just want to go in, spin, and win. So we are looking at the uniques now, right? The other day, I actually, when I was doing Tota, I actually lost my match against Rakiata. If not, I would have gotten the very cool Rakiata dance. Looking at the stats of the sword, right, it's actually decently strong. If you get a max roll with the increased attack speed, I think it's a very viable weapon even for Flicker Strike. Flicker Strike, Spectra, Troll, or even Frost Blades. It's okay. So the only good thing about this thing that it packs a lot of early damage, but at the same time, the attack speed is not too bad to use, and right, the sword looks freaking cool. I think everybody should get one just for you can do a skin transfer. If you are playing Flicker, you are playing Oral Flicker or Terminus S, yeah, just change over to this sword and then you will look cool.
Also, another unique that was hyped up was Martha's Teachings. It recently went down in price because of the buff to Trial of Ancestors. So I will probably be looking at the price, and if I can get it for cheap, I will probably be going to snipe it and maybe look into making a medium build in the future. Maybe Poison SRS, which seems to be really popular nowadays. So other than what we have mentioned just now, are there any other uniques that you guys might be interested? Cause I don't think we went through that many.
Yeah. So yeah, we are scrolling through the list. There is a ring. There's a ring. Tohaku's timing moonstone ring. So I think this ring has been leaked prior to the leak's release, and there's one very interesting mod. Spell causes you to gain ES equals to the upfront cost every fifth time you pay it. I remember this being a enabler for some kind of loop sequence as well. So haven't really looked at how you want to loop this, but I think if you can get this to go, this might be just one of the new ward loop kind of thing, but instead of ward, you actually use energy shield. And at the same time, I think this is one of the strongest unique ring, because I think this is the first time I see a ring that can roll 40% spell damage. Even for Snake Pit is at 30. Astral Projector is also at 20 or 30%. So this ring is very interesting for self-cast.
So about the upfront cost of it, right? Does it mean that it doesn't matter what resource you spend? Like if your skill casts with life or casts with mana or casts with ES, and it will give you back that amount of ES?
Yes, it seems like it, because spell causes you to gain energy shield equals to the upfront cost. I would say that the upfront cost means usually is mana lah. You usually is mana and then you gain back ES. So if there's a way to loop that, yeah, why not?
So in this case, would you use like, oh no, what's that? Archmage?
Usually Archmage builds will go agnostic, so you actually have 0 ES. So I'm not sure how you're gonna use this one, right? But okay, the only limitation is every 5th cast. So how do you play a build that on the 5th cast will only get you back some resource? Because even if you talk about the Nexus Glove, I don't know if you guys remember, it's a ritual base. That ritual base has a 30% chance to return the amount of mana that you spend. So maybe people would I think I saw a Reddit thread on this, on how people want to abuse this with Nexus Glove. Yeah, if you can get that to go, I think it's a very interesting loop that we'll see. Then maybe it will also, if people make this into a reality, it might share a bit of the burden of what loop costs nowadays, because what loop is a very expensive build now. I think if you can get this loop to go cheaper, people who want an automated kind of playstyle would go for the cheaper alternative.
Right. So it has been 10 days into the league. Even though honestly it feels like it's been a few weeks already, it's only been 10 days. Sir Gok has uploaded a YouTube video speaking about some of the different things which are popular this league. One of the things that he mentioned was popular was Hex Blast Mines and Fourth Vow. Oh, what do you think about? What do you guys think about his takes?
I think I watched his video, and I think his sentiment is, and his views on Hex Plus Mine is actually quite right, because Hex Plus Mine was only a thing in Sanctum. Then in Sanctum itself, people actually thought of, what if I do Hex Blast without Sandstorm Visage? And the answer was a Shaper Helm. Shaper Helm with the base crit. So that was the other only way to play it. And in 3.21 Crucible League, with the absence of Sandstorm Visage, people actually just flock over to the live base, which is the one that Captain Lance played, the Shaper Helm, Wrath Thief, and Calm's Heart. So you basically just juice your Helm mods to the max, and the Helm should compensate for the amount of crit that you get from a Sandstorm Visage. That was how people played Hex Blast back in Crucible League without Sandstorm Visage. And that build is actually a very popular league start for Korean players back then. And I actually sold a lot of Shaper Helms with the Hex Plus Enchant last league as well. And most of the people buying from me are the Korean players. So I know what's going on. And it's funny that he also knew that, and then he talked about that in his video. Fourth Vow is just a very, I think it's just a familiar pick for a lot of people. Fourth Vow came out last week as well. Fourth Vow is an interesting chest such that your chaos hits, your armor do protect you from the chaos hits, but the way I see it is still not as good as some of the traditional unique chests like Blastdome, or even if you're going for damage, definitely you go for Chevrons, right? Personally, I've liked this chest for a while, but I don't see people playing it. It's called Vol's Devotion. It gives you inner conviction. So if you are playing any sort of power charge stacking build, I think inner Vol's Devotion is a very cool chest. For Totem players, definitely you can't run away from Soul Mentor, right? So there are still a lot of good unique chests out there, and just that for Val, this is the turn where it became meta, because that is how people are solving chaos hits. But to be honest, I think most chaos damage dealt to players are actually dots. So I don't see how people are choosing to play the fourth vow as a meta chest, because fourth vow is actually very specific for a kind of build that needs chaos hit mitigation, which on top of my head I can only think of. If you cast Forbidden Rite, you want to take less of the self damage. That is the only application that actually has consistent chaos damage to yourself.
Well, since Joseph doesn't really have an opinion on these things, so the Chieftain and the Guardian are not really that popular. What do you guys think about that? Do you guys think that it's surprising that they are unpopular?
No, like I say, what was it, the first podcast that I already say that Chieftain, basically the Chieftain reward is basically above to Juggernaut. There's not much to it really. As a jug, if you want more tankiness, just go and get is it Valakos? The one where you treat Fire Rest as your max rest, right? It's basically a free melding without the downside. You don't need to gear for another 4 max rest and 70 all rest, right? You can just use that one straight up. But like I say, the opportunity cost for Forbidden Flash and Flame is always, as a Juggernaut, you can always look to Berserker as a 40% more damage multiplier. So you are giving up that for more tank. Do you really need more tank? I don't think so. Because depending on what content you are doing, let's say you are doing Dota, you are still going to die from the very high ranking Dotas anyway. So if you are dying, there's no need for so much tank. And if you are going for damage, you shouldn't be playing Juggernaut, right? Then as for Guardian, I would say that Guardian, okay, fun fact, Guardian is the most played ascendancy in Ruthless, purely because of the rework Sentinel of Radiance. This shit is broken, right? I've seen people use this just to level up as Guardian. They take the first lap node, they just use this to cruise through campaign, and once they reach Blood Aqueducts, they change it to like a better ascendancy. It's either Hierophant or Inquisitor, right? So this is how people are playing right now, and I think this is bad design. Okay, it's good because it helps the ascendancy, but if people are doing this damage, it's too strong. It means people should buff Inquisitor and Hierophant for leveling, right? Then other than that, I think Guardian, I actually like the elemental minions, but that one is gated behind the second lab. And if I want to buy it as the, I haven't checked the jewel prices, but I think it's going to be expensive, because any Inquisitor looking to deal damage should always look at the elemental minions for high level aura for a cheap price of 2 jewel sockets. Just a reminder, you don't need to run aura on your Inquisitor setup. Just get 2 jewels and you get Hatred, Wrath, and Anger. All 3 of those are big damage multipliers. But you definitely have to find the correct skills to use it, right? And I think the correct skill to use it is actually Spark, right? You play Spark, 2 Call of the Brotherhood, you make use of both hatred and wrath already. And anger is just there to give you a bit more flat fire. And just so happens that the fire mastery has something that increases 100% damage when you ignite something recently. So that is a very big abuse case there. Other than that, I think Guardian reward is successful, but it's still above to other Templar class. Same for Chieftain. Chieftain is the rework hasn't been all too successful because I think back then Chieftain still has an identity as a fire totem build. But currently, even if I'm playing some sort of bitter slat sprinkler totem build, I wouldn't touch Chieftain at all. I would just go Scion because Scion has the old Chieftain nodes. At the same time, you can also get Hierophant +1 totems. So I wouldn't see any case where you use Chieftain for strength stacking totems anymore.
Actually, like I mentioned earlier, I think Captain Lance uses it for Spectral Throw. And I think Spectral Throw might work. Any tri-elemental build might be interesting with the new relics, I think. I'm not sure if Lightning Arrow will be hilarious or not, but why not just play Dead Eye at that point, right?
Wait, you're talking about Ascendancy or what?
Oh, I'm talking about how Captain Lance is using Guardian and the tri-elemental relic with Spectral Throw.
Okay, but if you're doing that, it means your ally weapon has to have a bit of fist and cold to also dip into hatred. Because if you're doing flat, then you're basically only getting more value out from wrath and anger. Yeah, I mean, but Rakiatas has more cold than fist. So what I think that note the best abuse case is definitely physical conversion spell like maybe Stormburst or Divine Ire, right? And just now I mentioned about Spark. The only reason Spark works is because nowadays Spark either people play the Chaos version, which they do Phantasmal Spark with Ashes, or they would just go for the normal Spark with the aura stacking. They'll go for the Nebulis to abuse both the cold and lightning damage, and they will convert all their lightning damage from spark into cold. So you can actually use all three auras. Is that an abuse case? I don't know, but that seems to me the best use case for now.
Which seems quite strong. Joseph was actually quite interested in fresh meat. Turns out that only Skeleton Mage is using it because of its weaknesses. And we were also, another thing that we were also quite excited about was Spellblade before the league started. And Impending Doom was one of the ways that we mentioned that we could abuse it, that we were looking at before the league started, because of its damage effectiveness and how it's being triggered.
I think the numbers on Impending Doom was not intended as a main skill. It's just there to support whatever links that you have. So the fact that people actually do Spellblade Impending Doom these days, it's just going to be built for this league. They are changing how Impending Doom do next league. So it's just to not grieve the people who league started Impending Doom because it is being widely popularized as a very good league starter, right? I want to say something about returning proc. I think the return proc project support gem is actually is alright, but it's not really good considering you actually have to wait for the returning projectile to come back and deal damage. So I mean on paper it's a 31% more damage gem, but in practice if you are lacking damage, you wouldn't want to wait for the projectile to come back for another time, right? You would rather just use a proper damage link rather than returning proc. Returning proc actually is just only on some skills you can abuse returning proc. Like I believe there was Zhang made Eye of Winter Nimis, which is the same thing. you can actually use return plots if you haven't got the money to buy a Nemesis yet. Yeah, very specific use case. If not, I wouldn't touch this support gem. I think the support gem release this league isn't really that crazy, but there will be a lot of talk when people start looking at sadism, volatility, and I've looked at Locust Mine. Locust Mine sucks, by the way. It's so hard to use because you technically have to stand beside the boss for the mines to hit you, because the mine aims you. So if you want to kill any boss with Locust Mine, you actually have to stand next to the boss, which we know is a bad idea, right? So yeah, that is a very very, very bad support gem they design. I think it's meant for clearing. So maybe for clearing you can use that, but if you are looking to boss, Locust Mine is out of the picture already.
I'm pretty sure I'm not sure if the damage multipliers are good. Are the damage multipliers good?
It is a theoretical support gem. It's a very good theoretical support gem because it reduces I think 11%, but it gives you 2 more mines. So in paper or on paper it's very strong, but on practical use it sucks.
Say no more. I'm sure Matthew is gonna use it, or the bunch of Koreans is gonna use it. Like all the mechanical skill gods are gonna figure out a way to get Locust Mines to work, and then we're gonna see like breakneck Atlas completions or stuff like that.
So now that we're on to ascendancies, right, there's actually one thing that I'm really surprised about. Because I thought that this was because Vengeance Cascade was so strong, but I'm really surprised that Deadeye is so popular even when Vengeance Cascade has been deleted from the game. Is this a surprise to you guys?
I think the only reason Deadeye is good is because people like I say, people playing softcore, we don't care about death. When we play Deadeye is the fastest ascendancy game because of Tailwind. So you can just zoom through the map, clear everything, get your loot, and get out. Go next map. So Deadeye with a combination of how good Lightning Arrow works early in the game, I think it's a very viable league start strat to use Deadeye to farm early league currency. Just by running fast, you can get to content faster. And to be honest, nowadays people just buy boss queue. Like if there's any boss queue quests that you have to do, just buy them, and then you can continue mapping. Early league maps are very, very good to sell. Like once it reaches like day 3, day 4, then definitely there wouldn't be maps to sell already. But if you are rushing, Deadeye is definitely one of the best ascendancy to run that. Yeah.
Well, I think there are other things that were mentioned that's very popular, but they don't seem very interesting. Poison SRS, yeah, we know it'll be powerful. Impending Doom, we talked about it before already. Exsanguinate, not sure. Like I'm quite surprised.
And Sanguinate has always been a very good clear skill, so I'm not surprised that people these days will play poison with it. I think there was a build last league where people used the light butcher helm. Then they put a Archmage support to it, so that it stops the trigger of the Spirit Nova. People just accumulate more kills with Sanguinate to get because Sanguinate has a dot portion, right? So most of the monster that you kill will take out to the fist damage. So from there, right, you get your spirit charges on queue, and eventually, whenever you have spirit charges, all your Ensanguinate comes out with 15% more per spirit charge. So it's a very strong build back in last league. But like I say, it's mainly a mapping build. It's not a build capable to do bosses. So I can understand that the first league meta should revolve around people who are finding builds that can map. People are not making boss killers now, because boss killer, unless you are a streamer or you have access to a pool of players that is willing to buy kills from you, you won't be making money from doing boss kills. At least that is how I see it.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Well, Joseph has been silent for about like 10 years now. Do you have any goals or anything to look out for in the upcoming weeks? I mean, other than the mage blood that you're farming.
Guys, please just run Dota. It's a money farming strategy now. It's so good. I have nothing else. I've been running Dota and I'll be running Dota. Okay, you get the idea. Thanks.
No, you are doing it wrong. You should tell people to run map so that they can supply you silver coins so that you can run Dota forever. That is the way to play PoE. You don't encourage people to come into your market. You want to corner the market yourself. Isn't that how we play PoE? It's like if I'm playing lab now, I will ask people to run map so that they can supply me the lab keys for lab running. It's just like that. If there is a strategy that is making good money, I would definitely not tell people, man. Like to be honest, have you seen those videos on YouTube where they talk about this is how you become rich? Those people are not going to share how they become rich, man. Those people are going to tell you to do things that will make you do to think that you'll become rich, but actually they are profiting off what you are doing. This is how people play PoE, and this is how people play in real life in general, anyway.
Wow, that was very pessimistic. But I actually thought those people earn money from those courses that they sell you, not actually from anything else. What do you think about the league, Big L? Any goals or thoughts about the league?
Like I say, I actually enjoy the sniping chip items to make good builds for when I'm playing PoE. So currently I'm still working on the helm enchant, but let's just say for the next 1 or 2 weeks I'll be focusing on challenges. Challenges, do my challenge, and I will just along the way some items you know they won't come out for the first 2 weeks. You have to wait a bit more for people to actually drop those items. I'm waiting to snipe that, and once I snipe for every item that I want to build around, then I will just make my build, which like I said previously, it's going to be a EK Inquisitor, a Hex Blast Pathfinder, and I am currently looking at a Burning Arrow stat stacking Inquisitor Miner. Is that a mouthful? Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, and the reason I want to do this is because I'm pissed with Minefield. So I want to use a Helm Core, Curtain Core. It actually allows me to throw 3 mines without the penalty. And to effectively use Curtain Core, you actually have to have 800 decks and 800 in. And what's better to stack attribute than Inquisitor? I know I've been on the Inquisitor train for a damn long time, but to me, in the game currently, there's almost no ascendancy that can match the power of Inquisitor. I mean, Dead Eye is for speed, but for damage wise, I think nothing beats Inquisitor, unless you are talking about power charge stacking, which is entirely should be occultist or the. I don't think people play assassin these days, but yeah, those two ascendancy can match the power of Inquisitor. But if not, I think most of the ascendancy need to come up to the stage where they can fight with Inquisitor.
Oh, that's actually quite interesting because I've never actually touched mines in my life. For me, I'm working on my chieftain. I'm really hoping he'll actually be immortal so that I can finally go back to my love for, watching shows and anime while playing PoE. I actually have pretty high hopes for him. I'm pretty sure the higher rated mobs in Trials of the Ancestors will crush my hopes and dreams for him, but you got a dream, man. Especially since I unlocked the secret of immortality. I'm sure it's a huge waste if I don't make use of it in some meme build somewhere.
I mean, I haven't gotten any good rewards from trial yet, but definitely I can see myself enjoying the game mode once I've completed like most of my challenge. I just want to chill time. I'll just sit in the trial and just play trial the whole day. But as for now, I will definitely, apart from the builds that I want to play, I will look into the new tattoos and also ways to actually build characters, because I think this league, you definitely have to play characters with tattoos because it's just going to. I don't. Okay. At the same time, I think that tattoo is going to be core, but some tattoos might not remain core for long because I think some of the tattoos are actually broken, very broken.
So with that, I think we're gonna end the podcast. Any last words?
I think Joseph should come and experience real PoE outside of Dota. And yeah, I'm not sure what final words we want though, because I've just been playing PoE on my own pace, but it seems like whenever Joseph posts screenshots of his divines and his Aegis Aurora, then I get that little hit of FOMO. Maybe I should be doing trials, but I'm not doing.
I think Joseph can continue playing Dota, but I think he should stop being unethical and start leaving the ages on the floor or something. Either that or he should start giving it to us instead of keeping it to himself.
Guys, I'm buying silver coins. Please sell me. Thanks.